Hello, Safe Harbor Yogis. It's great to be back with you. Those who have not practiced with me before, my name is Jen Rhodes. I've been practicing yoga for about 15 years now, teaching it for quite some time as well. I absolutely love what I do, so I'm happy to be able to share it with you, and I hope that it resonates well. Also, you'll probably see in the shot my dog is up here too, so Jasper is joining us today. So we're really going to just hone in on a lot of gentle stretches today, as well as kind of giving some options between the floor and the chair, depending on where you're at. And also just kind of delve into the mindfulness side of things, which you may or may not be too familiar with, but we'll go over that together. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get back to my chair. Alrighty. So, just a few housekeeping things right before we start. What we are going to have to keep in mind, I know the chairs that you guys are on have wheels most likely. So again, just be cautious within the chair that it doesn't tip or anything like that for those of you who are going to be seated during the practice. So back against the chair, this is going to be our relaxed pose. So when we're completely kind of sinking into our chair in the back, we have our back against it supporting us. Our feet are going to be about hip width distance, and then our feet will go right on the ground. Okay, so that is the relaxed side of things. I will cue it as well to kind of sit away from the back of the chair just so you have the option to use your own posture. So when we do that, it's a very gentle move, just again, a couple of inches, and then being mindful of the chair itself to not go too forward that it tips. So just be very cautious about that, and I will cue as best as I can to both the mat and the chair. So everyone, no matter where you are seated, whether that be on a mat or in a chair, let's go ahead and settle in. So those of you on the mat, you can lay down. You can let your arms lay by your sides. You can put one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. You have plenty of options if you're on the ground. If you're in a chair, I just say to sit back. Let the chair take all of the weight distribution that you're giving it, and just allow yourself to kind of melt into it, almost as if it was your bed or the ground, just letting yourself melt. So get to that point, and I encourage you all to either bring your gaze down to the floor just so you're not distracted, or you can keep the eyes closed. And by doing so, that blocks out anything from around you, anything that may influence you or distract you within class. So just really giving this time to yourself, even though there are rather a lot of people most likely in the room with you. Let this practice really be your own. Make this be your you time. Just because we don't do that often enough. Just that we're by ourselves. So almost treating this as a time when you know that you have no other responsibilities other than sitting in this chair and listening to me talk, or if you're being on your mat, you don't have any other responsibilities at this point. So with that being said, again, finding either your eyes closed or gaze low at the floor, that is best. And we're going to start by taking a quick breath or two together. So bear with me one moment as I take a sip of water. Okay. So from here, we're going to take a couple of breaths together. Now, what we're going to do, and you may be familiar with this if you've been in class with me before, but it's what's called lion's breath. And I feel like that's one of the most effective techniques with breathing. In breathing, moving and actually being on your mat and doing crazy poses is such a small piece of what yoga is. Again, there's a whole iceberg underneath of it that you wouldn't really know or see. So basically, because breath and movement are the biggest parts of yoga, and really linking those together, as the word yoga means to yoke, which again is to mix and kind of bring everything together. So our breath practice is what's called pranayama. So anytime we end up doing any breath work, That's where that's coming from. So it doesn't really necessarily have to link to the body, but when we're doing this type of thing, we want the body to relax on each of our breaths. So almost even you can tense yourself up a little bit on an inhale, and on that exhale, you can even just let the shoulders drop, let any tension that you may have built go. So if that's helpful for you, please feel free to do so. If you want to kind of make fists and tense yourself up and scrunch your eyes together and bring your shoulders up to your ears, do whatever you feel might resonate best with you, or give it a couple tries, whichever you'd like. So we're going to start by breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and we'll do 2 rounds of that. What I would like for you to picture in that kind of scenario with letting go of our breath, because it'll be in through the nose and out through the mouth. I'd like you to picture anything that you've been holding on to that you know is not serving you. So that could be a multitude of things. A few things may pop in your head by just asking that particular question. But again, finding anything that's inside that you know you're dwelling on, or that you, again, it may be a past thing that you cannot change. But finding something in the mind that, again, may eat at you from time to time. And what I'd like our goal to be on these big sighing exhales that are coming out of our mouth, just picture even the visual of those words leaving your mouth on that exhale, that they are going out into the ether. They are gone. Again, if you need to think of them another time, you can, but just kind of shush them away. Don't let them take over during this time together. So with that all said, we're going to breathe in through the nose and then sigh out the mouth. So let's take a deep, deep breath in. Inhale here. And exhale out through the mouth. All right, one more time. Inhale in. Exhale out the mouth. Let it all go. Beautiful. So, with our eyes still closed or our gaze at the floor, I always like to use some type of quote, some type of mantra or idea to be able to fuel our classes. And I kind of mentioned a little bit of it so far, but there's a quote with an unknown author. They had said, "Your peace is more important than driving yourself crazy trying to understand why something happened the way it did. Let it go." So again, I'm going to read that again just so it sinks in, because it's so true. So your peace is more important than driving yourself crazy trying to understand why something happened the way it did. Let it go. So I know I'm guilty of this as well. I think all of us are as humans. So we harbor a lot inside of our minds. It's completely normal. It's a human response. It's not anything to be worried about or to be ashamed of in any way, but we all get stuck in that mental loop of just thinking about the past, thinking about events that happened, imagining if you woke up 5 minutes later that one day and if it would have made a difference. So there are a lot of things that we keep in our minds that are not helpful. They're more harmful than anything because it's taking us out of the present moment. So ultimately, instead of dwelling on the past or being too anxious or kind of uneasy about the future, so we don't want to go into the past because it already happened. We can't change it. It happened. There's nothing that we can do to make it different except to learn a lesson and move forward. If we think about the future, and that's great, and planning is good, again, but everything is by the moment. Again, not to get too metaphysical with it here on you, but we only have the present moment. We don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. Again, it could be anything. So what I would like for us all to focus on, please, throughout our time together today would be about letting go of what we are holding on to that's not necessary, and just trying that we can kind of re-rein our brain back in if it wanders, just really trying to stay in this moment. So again, not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, just doing the exercise of being here in the moment. So before we truly start moving a little bit and stretching, I would love to just kind of go into this a little bit further, just so you can create your own mantra, your own saying, that can help you keep focused. So it could be something as simple as I am here in the present. It could be I am here now. One of my favorites, and I even have a ring that has it written in the Sanskrit language, which is what yoga is usually translated from, that says, "Be here now," which I love and I go back to very often. So just knowing that we can just be here and we don't have to stress about other things while we're here. So with that being said, let's start to move just a little bit. Since we've been sitting still, let's try to start with some small movements. So wiggle your fingers and your toes. Make those movements a little bigger. You can move the wrists and the ankles. You can move your toes around. You can bring your arms up over your head. You can do whatever you feel is best for you or that feels good in the moment. Just waking ourselves up a little bit from that peaceful state. And just to introduce it early, because I would like for us to use that breath, just as we did with lion's breath in the very beginning of our class today, is a little bit of what the yogic breath is like. So in yoga, the breath is, like I said, it's called pranayama. But the breath that is used in all practices with yoga for the most part. So when you're on your mat, you're moving a lot, whatever type of class you're doing with yoga, because there are a plethora of them. One consistent thing is called Ujjayi breath. It's also known as ocean breath or Darth Vader breath for some of those Star Wars fans out there. So just picturing that sound of like really like doing a closed mouth sigh. So we'll breathe in and out through the nose and then constrict the back of the throat. So hopefully this comes through the speaker so you can actually hear it. But when we take a deep inhale in and then we take it out. So really closing that throat behind you, almost like you're about to close mouth sigh. Just letting your breath flow that way, just because it ends up taking away distractions. So again, anytime something's about to distract you, you're about to think about the person next to you or what you had for dinner yesterday, that's such a helpful thing to be able to link up with your breath and just let your breath be your guide, that you're so consumed with paying attention to how you're breathing that you don't have the option to even think of anything else. So let's kind of try that breath together for a moment. Take an inhale through the nose, constrict the back of your throat and exhale. Inhale here and exhale. One more time, constricting the throat in and out through the nose. Inhale in, exhale out. So you can keep that going throughout class. Again, as it goes, it actually does indeed sound like an ocean, the way that waves are when especially a bigger group of people are doing that. So, hey, if that can happen, go for it. And we'll start to make some stretches here now. So first off, let's sit up against the back of our chair for now. Again, if you have sat forward at all, please feel free to sit back. Those of you on a mat, please just find a comfortable seated position for me. That could be with your legs in that crisscross applesauce type of style, or however it is most comfortable for you to sit. There's no rule to that. So We're just going to stretch over from side to side here first. So let's reach our left arm high up into the air. Let the right arm drop to your side. We're going to reach over toward the right. So go ahead and like spin your pinky that it's coming down toward the ground, and your palm is going to face behind you. So really stretching and opening, because that's opening this whole side of the body here, our armpit, our sides, by our ribs, also a little bit into the shoulder blade as well. So really just giving yourself that stretch, that little lean, letting your right arm be a little bit of a weight that's pulling you over toward the right side. So breathing here, use that breath that we just created in and out through the nose. Make that constriction in your throat. Do 2 more of those breaths for me, please. Inhaling in, exhaling out. Inhale and exhale. Drop that arm down, swap it out, let the left arm go down toward the ground. Reach the right arm high up into the air. Take that stretch over toward the left this time rather. And really finding that stretch on each side of our body. So feeling it here, and even acknowledging if there's a difference that you feel right off the bat in that stretch. So just breathing into anything and taking notice to where it is in our bodies. Go ahead and come back to neutral here, right at the center. We're going to bring our arms, both of them overhead, but first interlace your fingers. And we're going to press our palms up toward the sky. So come into this stretch and really just feel it here. Maybe even bring your gaze up toward the ceiling and try to press those palms as high up to the sky as you can. Try to even lengthen your torso more, that you're really pulling up from your waist up and growing through your torso. If you'd like to sit away from the back of the chair, you're welcome to as well. Then we're going to take this into a mini back bend, and by mini back bend, I mean very gentle. So what I'd like you to do is bring your hands that are above you just 2 inches back a little bit further, enough that you can gently lean against the back of your chair. Then we're going to bring our gaze up toward the sky and just hold it there, coming into this little opener of our chest. And then on your next exhale, release those arms down, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the arms out if you feel like they're falling asleep from being up in the air. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of everything with our bodies. So we just open up the chest, the side of our bodies, a little bit into our backs. So now we're going to sit away from the back of the chair. Those of you on mats can stay seated as well. But we're just going to move our backs away safely from the back of the chair to give ourselves an inch or two behind us. We're going to put our feet about hip width distance. Our knees are going to be bent and they're going to be right over our ankles. So if you can see where I'm at here, I'm making that perfect angle here with the legs. So that's ultimately what you would like to do. So from here, we're going to stretch out the legs a little bit. So starting where we're at, we're going to extend the left leg long first. And so left leg's going to go out behind us or in front of us here. I like to normally with this one bring my right toes in toward the chair a little bit. So you can see how I'm doing that. I'm just bringing up to a little kickstand with my toes. I'm extending my left leg long. Now, what we're going to ultimately do, just so you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just going to flip to the side. I'm going to straighten this left leg entirely. So again, whatever works best. And then we're going to pull our toenail side of our toes back toward our face, almost like we're standing on a wall in front of us. So from here, you keep hands on your lap if you wish. We're going to keep this leg straight, and you'll feel it pretty quickly. Let's point our toes through this. So let's point our toes toward the front of the room now instead of bringing them back toward ourselves. Then flex them back, stand on the wall. Point them forward, bring them back. And then just doing a couple of taps with this foot back down on the ground. So let's go ahead and let the foot come down, let your heel come and touch the ground with still your toes coming back toward you. Inhale and lift the leg back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, let it rise. Exhale, bring it down. Excellent. And same thing with the other side. So you can plant that left foot or make that little kickstand with the toes like I had just done. But let's extend the right leg long this time. Let it take flight off the ground. Bring those toenails back toward yourself like you're standing on the wall and just keep that foot there. We're going to point and flex the foot. So go ahead and make some movements with your ankles, waking up the calves, waking up the ankles a little bit. And then we're going to exhale, tap that heel down to the ground. Inhale, let it go up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. One last time, exhale, lower. Inhale, up, and just go ahead and set that leg back down. So now that we've moved a little bit into the legs, let's get a little bit into the hips. So those of you on the ground, if you want to recline yourself back to lay down and just bring the soles of your feet with your knees bent just about within reach of your arms if you put your arms down by your side. So find that position if you're on the ground. Those of you in chairs, what we're going to do is stay seated away from the back of the chair as we had been doing before. We're going to bring those feet again hip width distance, that our ankles are right underneath of our knees. And we're going to cross an ankle over a knee each time. So we'll do both sides. So a few options here. So we're going to start with bringing our left ankle up. So you can see even my own knee is floating pretty high. It's not like it's level with the ground. That is pretty normal. I always like to use, again, without putting too much stress into the stretch, I like to use my right hand in this case for this side, just to hold on to the ankle. So it's taking some of that work off of you trying to press this ankle into your leg to keep it where it is. So again, using that hand, we're going to flex our toes again. So our foot, our left foot, I should say, is going to be like we're standing on the wall to the right of us. So the higher your knee is toward your chest or toward the sky, the easier this is going to be. The more that we bring the knee down toward the ground is where you're going to feel that stretch more in this outer part of your left hip. So again, gauging yourself, if your knee is up here, up by your chin, hug onto it with both arms. Feel free to do so. You're still stretching. So again, please feel free to make that practice your own. So from here, we're in this number 4 pose you can see with your legs, and it literally in yoga is called figure 4 pose. So it's a great one to get into. And as you relax into the pose here a little bit, as we settle in, I'd like us to take a breath to try to release that knee down toward the ground, even just an extra centimeter or two. So we're going to take one of those big breaths in through the nose and out through the nose, that yogic breath. If it's stopped, that we've kind of paused that, we'll bring it back here for just a moment. So let's take an inhale together. Let that knee kind of come out of the pose a little bit. And on our exhale, let it deepen that stretch a tiny bit more. Wonderful. Now, keeping us the way that we are with our legs, we're going to play a little bit around with our arms coming into this. So you can keep that right hand kind of on that ankle if you would like to keep it there for support. But if you feel fine with that foot, if it's pressing enough into the knee that you don't feel like it's going to slingshot forward, you can feel free to let go entirely. Otherwise, you can use that right hand as a little safety. We're going to look down and we're going to kind of thread the needle, bring the left arm through that hole we created in that number 4 with our legs. And we're just going to simply bring both hands or one hand underneath of our right thigh. So you can see that we're going to lean forward here. So this is a forward fold. So we're going to go right from our hips down. So we're not just going to round our shoulders in and crunch into it. What we want to do is we want to bring ourselves down and just kind of hinge at the waist. Again, the further we go down, the more the stretch is going to be. So feel free to make it your own and just go with your own body. So as we lean forward, let your heart be what's pulling you down toward the ground in front of you. And once you get to your stopping point, stop there, and I'll encourage you all once again to close your eyes. So closing our eyes here. If we've lost a little bit of our attention or intention for our class today, feel free to come back to that mantra of either being here now or being in the present. And then coming back up out of that stretch, same thing, opposite side. So let's go ahead and cross the right ankle over the left knee this time. Again, using your hands if you need to keep that leg steady, feel free. We're going to flex these toes again like we're standing on the wall to the left of us. And again, gauging the stretch the best you can. So as we breathe here, we're going to find that sweet spot on this side, which may be different than the other one. So acknowledging that and just having respect for that is good. And now we're going to thread that needle through again. So we're going to bring our right hand this time through that number 4 we created. Bring either one or both hands behind the back of the left thigh and just give yourself that lean forward. So we're coming into the stretch a little bit more. So let your heart guide down toward the ground and go ahead and bring yourself into this. So we're getting a stretch a little bit into the lower back, definitely into the hips more than anything. And into the glute even a little bit here. So breathing into it, letting yourself kind of rise and fall in your breath so that your inhales bring you a little out, exhales bring you a little deeper. So finding that. Take 2 breaths in. All right, from here, go ahead and slowly sit yourself back up. For those of you in chairs, you can release your legs if you are on the mat there too. And feel free to just kind of wiggle out the legs and go that way as well. All right, wonderful. Just to make sure my video is still going because I have had that happen before, that it's a little bit disappointing because it stops on me. All right, we're still good. Wonderful. Jasper's back to join us. So from where we are at in our chairs, just simply seated. We're going to move around a little bit here in some twists, and again, getting more deeply into the tissues of the body. So as we go here, our next is going to be some twists that we're going to play around with, which are some of my favorites. I love doing anything with our hips because we hold so much tension there. It's always really nice to get that to release. I feel like that's a necessary thing to do. So I do enjoy that, but I really love twisting just because I had a guru that I was studying under for quite some time, and when he would describe what the twists of our body, so again, going side to side, twisting mainly with the torso, or if we're laying down, you can technically twist with the hips as well on the opposite side. So what we're going to do is we're going to find some twists and think of it almost like you have a washcloth filled with water and you're trying to wring it out, trying to get that water out of that washcloth. Think of that inside your body. So when we do a twist, it's detoxifying. It is allowing us to regenerate some of those things because all that good stuff that's in there, not just our muscle or skin or anything like that by any means. We have organs in our bodies, so surprise, they're there. But this really does help to rejuvenate that a little bit because it is kind of moving those muscles around and allowing them to get into those internal tissues and organs and really let go of those toxins we may be holding on to based on our diet or based on our environment or anything, what have you. So what I'd like us all to do, again, is sit away from the back of the chair a little bit, and we're going to just bring our feet hip width distance, knees over top of ankles. So we know the drill there. Those of you on the mat, you can sit up for this one, and you can just sit with your legs in crisscross applesauce or however you want them to be. So we're going to twist to the left side first. So here are some options. What we can ultimately do, and I'll turn to the side here for this, you have a few ways that we can make this work. So I personally like to just extend my arm out to the side. So bringing my arm out, even with my body, palm facing forward. From here, coming into this twist, We now get to use the other arm. So we bring the right arm out too. So we're almost like we're going to give a big hug to someone. And then we're going to use our arms to help propel us. So let's bring that right arm forward in front of us, like we're reaching out toward me or toward the camera. And then we're going to bring our left arm as far back as is comfortable. But you can see as I'm doing that, I'm twisting at the waist. So my seat is staying the same. I'm just simply twisting over toward the left. So you'll feel that on your left side of your body quite some bit. So really using our arms almost like propellers to bring us over. Same thing opposite side. You can keep the arms out, come back to the middle, and then intentionally go over toward the right. So our legs, our seat is staying the same. We're twisting from the waist up. So inhale, come back to the middle, arms stay out. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhale, exhale, twist to the right. 2 more. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the twist on the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the right, 1 last round. Back to center. Exhale left. Back to center. Exhale right. Go ahead and bring yourself back down. Let the arms hang. If there's anything in the shoulders, work them out, move them around a little bit, just because we did have ourselves in that static position for a moment. So do whatever feels best to you with your shoulders. If you want to roll them, wiggle them around, whatever may be most suitable for you, go do that. And now that we have one twist in the book, we're going to do another. So we're going to kind of make this our own here. So anyone in chairs, what I would like for you to do on this one is what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just cross a leg over. So first we're going to cross the left leg over top of the right. Okay, so left leg over the top of the right. We're going to come into a twist on each side this time, but using our hands on our leg as kind of leverage. So we're going to bring our right hand to the outer part of our left knee. So right on top there. Okay. We're going to use that kind of as leverage. Now we're going to twist over toward the left. So let your waist twist and just the top half of your body face toward the left. Now what we can do is we can bring that left arm back left arm back behind us, just like we did before, and use this right hand to really guide us into the twist a little bit bigger. Also, if you want a little crunch out of it, you do have the option to kind of lean forward. You can bring this right elbow to the outside of that knee and then stretch open that way. So you're coming down a little bit more and then twisting into it and using that elbow against your leg to help open up. Okay, so that's what that one would look like. So either way, find your pose. If you're seated up more and just using your hand and then reaching back and twisting, or if you would prefer to bring the elbow in, crunch down a little bit and open up. So find yours. Take 2 more breaths, please. Wonderful. Uncross the left leg, cross the right leg over top the left. Now, same rules apply. I won't bore you with the details the second time. So either bend forward and use the left elbow for leverage against that knee as we twist back, or hand comes to the outside of that right leg and twist back that way. So either way, we're twisting to the right. I would like you to take 5 big, big breaths here. So 5 big breaths. And then once we're done, go ahead and join me by coming back to the middle and just sitting forward. Approximately 2 more breaths. And then untwist yourself, bring yourself back to the middle, uncross your legs. Go ahead and just move your ankles, move your feet a little bit here. Wonderful. All right, so we got in some twisting. We got in some legs. We got a little bit into the hips. We did some arms here too, even. So now we're going to just work a little bit more on opening the chest, because ultimately, again, our heart is such an important thing, and we want to stretch the muscles around it as well, just because that is pretty necessary. So we're going to kind of come into this technique of bringing our arms into this goalpost position. So our elbows are basically even and our biceps are even with the ground. Okay, and then our forearms are even with walls. So from here, we're going to open the chest and close the chest. So keeping your arms as it is, let's bring our elbows back toward the back of the room a little more. Let that open your chest up. Maybe your gaze even comes up to the sky. You feel your shoulder blades coming together behind you. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, let those arms close. Bring your palms together to touch in front of you. Inhale, open them up, find those goalpost arms, puff the chest out, bring the shoulder blades together. And then exhale, close it all up. One more. Inhale, open the chest, arms come out, goalpost arms. And exhale, arms come together. Beautiful. So letting our hands come back down to our laps. We're going to come to this point where we're going to kind of go backwards, okay? So we're going to do some of those same stretches we did at the beginning and just feel any differences in our body, okay? So let the left arm hang. Right arm comes up over top of our head. Stretch over toward the left. Your gaze this time may come up over, or I should say under that right arm toward the sky. And then swap arms here. Bring the left arm high, right arm hangs. Maybe bring your gaze over toward the left arm. Exhale and release. Beautiful. So for this one last pose that we're going to ultimately do here together is going to be more of a resting pose. So those of you on mats, I purposely left my mat kind of visible today for class. So those of you on a mat, we're going to go into what's called child's pose, okay? So what that entails is bringing your big toes together to touch. So big toes are together behind me here to start out. We're going to keep our seat right on those heels and just walk our hands forward. And you can bring your forehead down to the ground here as well. So I'm pressing into my palms, kind of propelling my hips back, letting my forehead sink into the ground. If it feels good to you as well, you can bring your knees about mat width distance and then just bring your big toes together too to touch. So that is also an option. But getting your forehead either to connect with the mat, or you can stack the arms. Bring your head down to your forearms. That's an option. Also, if you want something more relaxed, you can bring the arms back behind you and sincerely just sink into this little ball of a position and go that way. Okay, so that's our option on a mat. On the chair, what I would like for us to do is sit as far back as we can, but we're not going to really keep our back against it. I just want that for safety purposes. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold forward over our legs. So very similarly to that position on the mat, just simply from a seated standpoint. So from here, I'd like us to bring our hands to our hips. So bring your fingers around that hip crease. So right where the bend in your legs are as you're seated, that's what we want to pay attention to. So make those L's with your fingers and go ahead and just bring them here as a guide. Keep those feet planted, feet are hip width distance, and simply lean yourself forward. So again, you'll find a stopping point at some point. You can stop there, remove the hands, few options here. You can stack those forearms on the legs and just simply hang out right here. That is totally fine. I would say also to let go of the head if you're here and just let the top of your head hang heavy. So that is option number one. Option number two, if we feel like we have the ability to lay our chest onto our legs or torso onto our legs, we can let these hands go. let them touch the ground. Release the head. So that's an option here. And option number 3 would be exactly this. So we're going to go ahead and bring our feet a little wider than our hips here. You can slide them out on the chair, and that gives us the ability to go even further into this one. So you can kind of see on this angle here for me, with my feet wider, I'm really sinking in. Okay, so I'm falling in between my legs and trying to keep my seat a little bit there, that I'm not letting my tailbone come too far off. But again, you can go to any variation of these. You can be totally into it and hanging in between your legs. You can keep the feet just hip width distance and just let your torso rest. Or again, coming to this position with the legs when the arm's there. So find your version of that forward fold, that child's pose. Find your version. Take a moment to do so for me. And we're going to hang out here for 10 breaths. We're going to deregulate ourselves a little bit here, bring ourselves into a good position that way. And I want us to slow our breath down now. So I want us to release that control of our breath. So as we're in this pose, this possible kind of almost like an inversion, because our head is going possibly below our heart. Again, letting go, let the breath come back to normal. Approximately 3 or 4 more breaths left. And once you've hit that quota of breaths, we're going to roll up very slowly from that position. So with our head still hanging, just bring your chin in toward your chest here. And then we're going to move up vertebrae by vertebrae, focusing on the lower back all the way up to the upper. So slowly roll yourself up, feel each vertebrae coming back into alignment as we sit back up straight. Excellent, guys. So coming into our final resting pose of our class here, which is called, ironically enough, corpse pose, so because you'd be laying still in most cases if you are on a mat, or it's also known as Shavasana. Shavasana means to simply have a rest, almost this blissful little mini nap almost for about 2 minutes. So coming into our corpse pose or our Shavasana, you can lay down on your mats if you are on the ground. Those of you in chairs, sit back against the back of the chair, let your feet get comfy, let your hands fall wherever they are most happy. I like personally just placing them on my lap. Sometimes I will bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. That helps keep focus on our breath and our heartbeat as well. So using whatever option you prefer. But what we're going to do is come back to that beginning thought of class where we're going to be completely present, going to be completely still, and just simply closing the eyes, knowing there's no need for any extra thoughts at this time. All we have to think about is our breath and our heartbeat, about this exact moment, letting any thoughts that come to mind just simply float off, knowing that you can find them again later, but we don't need to have them right now. So taking just a moment of silence here, something that we don't get often enough. Let's find that silence together here. Just listening to our own breath, feeling our own breath, our own heartbeat. And let go of any tension that may be in the body right now. Let yourself melt into your chair, into your mat. Keeping the eyes closed. And just quickly, however you are in this still position, what I'd like for you to do is just, without any movement at all, just bring attention all the way from the top of the head down to your toes. See if there's anything that is hindering you in any way. Beautiful, everyone. Excellent job. So before we do part ways for today, just coming back to that quote from the beginning of our class. So again, your peace is more important than driving yourself crazy trying to understand why something happened the way it did. Let it go. So our little mental homework for the next week together is going to be to try to stay in that present moment, not dwelling on the past, not reworking through the same scenario you've thought of a million times. Because ultimately our control is in the present moment, not in the past, because we can't change that. So all we have is to work toward our future, but be in the present and let that present moment be what guides you productively forward. So if you have not done so yet, go ahead and gently blink the eyes open. Make any additional movements that feel good to you. If there are any particular stretches that you want to do while we're here, take about 30 seconds to do so. So taking a few more seconds to finish up if you did make any other movements just now. And then we're going to bring our arms down by our sides here. Those of you who are on the mat still laying down, roll to one side, use your arm as a pillow, and in your own time, slowly sit yourself back up and just use your arms to do so. We're going to go ahead and just sit as comfortably as we can, either if you're on the mat or on the chair itself. But we're going to let our arms hang by our sides. Face your palms out toward either wall to the side of you. And inhale and bring your arms all the way up to the top here, over top of the head. Bring your palms to touch. Bring your hands down to your heart. Let your knuckles of your thumbs press into that bone there, that sternum. And in yoga, there's a term that is called namaste. And what that means is the light in me sees and honors the light in you, and that we are all one. So we're going to end our class with that thought. And again, keep ourselves going out into the world today and every day in the present moment, not the past, not the future. And either out loud or in your head, let's all bow forward and thank ourselves for taking this time out to do this class today. Let the head drop and just show gratitude for yourself and your own practice. And either say out loud or in your head, Namaste. So thank you very much to all of my Safe Harbor yogis. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you should have any questions, please feel free to forward them to Sarah. I'd be happy to assist. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. Thank you.